What's happening, everybody? You might want to march into HH Greg and get a free television because they're giving away free television.
Oh, and for all you pole smokers, this is when you can just fast forward because God forbid you sign up and get a free TV.
Yeah, God forbid anybody's giving you something away for nothing, all right? But all you people that are interested in getting a free television, go to hhgreg.com/march and have the opportunity to win a free television now through the end of the NCAA tournament. Now,
my money's on Louisville, who plays Duke today, or in Syracuse.
Yes, and I'm going with I got Louisville going all the way and winning. If they do that, I have a good.
It's not Louisville.
It's Louisville. Is in the Africa Louisville. No,
Louisville?
No, it's not.
Yes,
that's
right.
taking another notch.
Exactly.
Louisville. I say Louisville. I say Louisville. What do you say? Louisville. That's some country again. That's some country shit. Anyway, guys, what do you guys know about decibels in the metric system? And all
he didn't say decibels. He said decimals.
Decimals, not
like
decibels.
170.9.
Decibels are when you hear sound.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
If something is 170.4, do you round up or do you round down?
When 170.4, you round down.
Right. So now if it's 170.9,
you round up.
Not in Quebec.
Why is that? Right?
The Quebec Athletic Commission sees 170.9 as 170. It sees 170.3 as 170.
And probably sees 180.5 as 170.
But it's strange when it becomes convenient when this actually happens.
Right.
Because it's
when does it become convenient, George?
When a certain fighter fights in Quebec in his last 2 fights. And then look.
Who's that?
We hate to do this, but this has come up twice in his last 2 fights. It's GSP.
Yes. And you know what? To GSP, before we go on to it, it has no bearing on how the fight with Nick Diaz would have won because we know he would have still won the fight. We know all that. I mean, we're not hating on him.
But what you guys need to understand is if you go back through the history of events and look at the way that this is the Athletic Commission. This has nothing to do with UFC. When the Athletic Commission in Quebec, as a fighter, you come in, they announce the decimals.
Right.
Their scale is calculated to 100 grams.
Right.
So that's why they're announcing the decimal.
In other words, it's accurate.
Yeah, they had a heavyweight fight where one guy weighed in at 236.7. Right. Why did you announce it? I mean, the weight limit's 256. The other guy weighed in at like 240.9, and they announced all the decimals.
Right.
But the last 2 UFC fights they've had there,
no,
the decimals were never announced, and all of a sudden went to whole numbers.
Now, to clarify why this is happening, let's take, for example, you have a fighter or someone like Jean Pascal who fought Bernard Hopkins. I mean, it's been other instances where this has happened. It hasn't been just in MMA. But if you have someone like GSP who, now there's been a video that's been out there.
And got yanked down, unfortunately.
You know, because it showed some shady shit going on. And George will go more into that. But if you're 170.9, if you weigh in, okay, then you're 171 if you round up. So you haven't made weight.
Right. Technically, that means you forfeit your money.
That you forfeit the money. It doesn't mean that the fight's not going to go on. It doesn't mean that the fighter who you're fighting is going to say, fuck that, I'm not going to fight you. It just means that you're going to lose a good amount of your purse. Mm-hmm. Where has all of a sudden thrown a major flag up for Nick Diaz's camp and his attorneys because they're like, okay, GSP supposedly weighed in at 170.9.
And what happens is if Kevin and I were facing off and I'm the champ and he's the challenger and he doesn't make weight, I then most of the time have a choice to say whether this is for a title fight or not.
Right.
And usually if the champ does not make weight, he gets, sometimes they even get disqualified and the fight doesn't go on.
Right.
Which obviously didn't happen.
Right.
And again, this weight difference has no outcome on the fight.
Yeah, because we know GSP was still going to win the fight.
What's strange is how they're making exceptions for certain people.
Right.
And you can look no further than GSP's last 2 fights.
And let me tell you something.
Both been in Quebec, and both times no decimal was in place.
They basically, they just say, fuck that. We're not going to have any decibels because if he happens to be 170.6, then we know it's got to be rounded up and it'll be 171, you know, and he won't make weight. Now, it just happens to be Quebec. It happens to be GSP. Obviously, in George Voss, and I've said this many times, when you have somebody like GSP who is in the limelight now, he is the face of the UFC, all kinds of shit's going to find. Everybody finds out everything. They find out how many times you shit a day. And then George and I talk about it because it's interesting shit.
Exactly. Okay? It's way more interesting than the Tough House results.
Right. So we start talking about it, and then we like you guys to weigh in and say what you feel about it. But it is very fucking funny because if I was Nick Diaz, honestly,
I'd want that money.
I would sit back and go, you know what? I lost. This was me if I was Nick Diaz. I lost. Can I beat him? No. Would I beat him? No. Would I beat him if he was 168? No. Would I beat him if he's 172? No. But He didn't make weight, and you know what? I should have got a chunk of his fucking paycheck.
Because all these people talk about how
I ain't
this
paid
is
my taxes.
such an honorable sport and this, that, or the other thing. Well, do the honorable thing. Play by the rules that are in place. Don't have an exception, especially for weight, because that's part of your job. Part of your job in this one is to make weight.
Right.
No different than, like, for all you people, when your alarm goes off, part of your job is to get up and go to work.
Unless
part
you're George.
of a fighter's job is to make weight. That's what you do.
When your alarm goes off, you go get your CrossFit on now. So
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it sucks. It's painful. It's hard. It's not fun. So and the real shadiness about this whole thing comes into somebody in Diaz's camp. They're sitting in the stands at the Quebec fight, and he's got an angle, and one of the UFC execs of legality and all. This man has a title so ridiculously long. Look it up on Bloody Elbow.
Right.
You can't find the video because it got pulled down because the UFC said it was copyright infringement.
Right.
Comes up and informs the Diaz camp that you're going to have an extra hour to make weight, and that they're not including decimals.
Right.
This was like an hour before weigh-in. So now you get an extra. So like the weigh-in got bumped back 2 hours, and Diaz is like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "I didn't know that." I was like, "Why am I sitting here all dehydrated?" Because here's the thing: like when you're waiting for other people to weigh in, it's not like you're back there greasing on pizza, dude.
No, you got to sit back and
You know, you still waiting and waiting and waiting. You just want to get on that scale and get rehydrated.
Yeah, and do it fast because you only have X amount of time before, you know, you have to fight the next day.
Right, and they get carb loaded back up and do whatever you do after that. So it's just interesting. I hope the video resurfaces. It's only fair. I don't see the copyright infringement on it. There's nothing UFC in it. But Kevin,
what I said to George is this: if there's like say the weigh-in, okay, if you come into and walk into a weigh-in and they're saying no video recorders, no electronic device, any devices, you know, is prohibited, like video recording this is prohibited, then basically the moment you walk into that arena, whether it be a weigh-in or not, if you're recording something and you do that, the UFC is going to cite that as copyright infringement.
And then they have the right to clear it or not clear it or yank it. So
right. And we've been down that road with them where basically they've said we've copyrighted shit that I don't know what the fuck they were thinking because there was no copyright. Because basically it's me and George. I don't know if the UFC, when I walk in this fucking studio, if there's a fucking message in front of my house that says, you motherfuckers, because that's the studio, my fucking house. You motherfuckers can't tape anything about the UFC and his copyright infringement.
I think on all these bullying campaigns we see, the UFC needs to be lumped in because at times they are some serious bullies when it comes to the wrestling.
And we love them. I mean, we talk about their shit all the time. George doesn't. I don't know. I don't got no problem with it, but just claim copyright infringement when it's legitimate. It's legitimate.
So, in other words, so what do you guys think about the decimal? And it's Quebec.
Not to be mistaken with decibels.
It's Quebec. It's not.
How many decibels was that, son?
Too many. It's way too early for that shit. So what do you guys think, like, about making weight and, like, legitimately have to stick to the rules? And are the rules getting changed in favor of a fighter?
Already getting bent too much. Comical, brash, and yeah, sometimes politically incorrect. The UnCut Sports Show. Non-traditional sports coverage delivered the way you like it by your uncensored co-hosts, Kevin White and George Bedford.